stopped asking him, and they told him to leave and said he had no talent and he didn't belong. He still stuck around, and people said he was a sidekick and he was riding John Morrison's coattails when they were a tag team. And he says he did end up splitting and he became the United States champion, but it wasn't good enough for anyone. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, there will no longer be a United States champion because they will combine it with the Intercontinental title again, thus dropping the U.S. Championship for good again, and only being the Intercontinental belt because they're doing it with all the belts. Okay, he followed that with winning the Money in the Bank, and now he can be looked at as the biggest star in the company. He asked for a drum roll. Sheik comes off the stand and he reveals himself on the cover of the new WWE magazine. He says this is a big deal because he dreamed of being on the cover as a child, and now it's finally happened. He tells the fans to stand up and admit that they were wrong because he made it. And he is the poster child, says that he can't deny it or hide it from it, and have no choice to admit it because he's the Miz and he earned the right to say he's awesome. Interruption, Bryan Danielson comes out to the ring. Miz looks less than thrilled to see him. Bryan introduces himself and says he only came out to congratulate him because no one thought he would make it either. Miz tells him he hasn't accomplished anything, and Bryan says he is right. And he comes out to generic rock music and doesn't have Miz's style, and he has paid $10 for his haircut. Bryan says he has to wear his ring gear in the back so he doesn't get thrown out, and already had to show his ID 3 times. He says if he is anything, it's the anti-superstar, and he tells Miz that he faced him for the U.S. title, he could beat him. Miz says he is right. That is a $10 haircut, and asks him what makes him think he is worthy of a U.S. title shot. Bryan says he's right because if the match happened, the next magazine might look like it with him on the cover, making Miz tap out. And he shows the Miz a mock-up of Miz tapping to Bryan. Bryan isn't out there running his mouth, but he can make him tap and can become the next U.S. champion. Miz tells Bryan he has never liked him, and he can annihilate him and will make Bryan want to go back to the Indies. Bryan cuts him off and asks for the match and wants an answer. Miz says yes. Bryan thanks him, but Miz thanks him and takes a swing at him. Bryan puts him in the LaBelle lock, but Alex Riley rushes the ring and tries to attack Bryan. Bryan kicks him in the head and puts him in the LaBelle lock, while Miz watches from the ramp. Riley is tapping out, and then Bryan laughs at Miz and kicks the magazine cover off the stand and stares at Miz on the ramp. Edge waits for the next entrance and is pissed when he sees the Great Khali come out as his opponent instead of Zack Ryder. He leaves the ring and he heads towards the GM laptop, but holds himself back from breaking it and gets back in the ring to start the match. Edge versus Great Khali. Edge rolls back out of the ring and makes fun of Khali. As the referee makes the count, he rolls back in to break the count, goes back outside, gets in Ranjan's face, but Khali grabs him by the hair. Edge gets away and heads towards the ramp, and Khali follows. Edge kicks Khali in the knee. Edge runs back into the ring. As the ref's counting to 10, Khali struggles to walk back in the ring. Therefore, Edge wins by count out. Edge is happy with his actions, but he gets interrupted by General Manager email. He says the GM refuses to acknowledge that Edge's chief win. And by the way, the email came to his cell phone and not the laptop this time. And the match will restart, and it has a no disqualification over the top rope challenge. This was stupid, because Khali actually eliminated himself during this match. Referee apparently did not see that. But again, Edge is thrown out, and Khali steps over the ropes. And Edge pulls him out for the victory. Wow. So Edge did advance to the six-pack challenge. Josh Matthews goes up to Chris Jericho in the back and asks him about the comments. When Jericho said if he doesn't become champion, he will leave WWE. Matthews says since he is out of the match, he can't become the champion. And he's asked about his future plans. Jericho says nothing. And Matthews thanks him for his time. And then the camera pans away. And Morrison is sitting next to Jericho all of a sudden. Morrison said, "Bad day, huh?" And asked Jericho if he still thinks he is the best in the world. And tells him it will get better. Morrison mocks him and asks if he understands what he is saying to him right now. Then stares off camera as we go back to the ring. Sheamus makes his way out for commentary. I've already ran over, so I'll have to splice this. Okay. I'll go ahead and finish. Yep. Okay. Understands why he's saying to him right now. This stares off camera as we go back to the ring. Sheamus makes his way out for commentary for the main event. As we go to our final commercial, when we get back, John Cena and Edge are also at the commentator's table to join Sheamus. Cole and Lawler and Barrett as Orton make their appearance. And the match is Wade Barrett versus Randy Orton for your main event. Orton punches away at Barrett and whips him into the corner and hits a clothesline. They take action outside and fight near the announcer's table, and Orton throws Barrett into the table. He unloads on Barrett on the apron, then stomps Barrett into the midsection. Orton runs at Barrett, but gets hit with a big boot, and Barrett punches away at Orton. Then measures up Orton and knocks him down with some right hands. Barrett goes for the wasteland, but Orton counters with a backbreaker. He starts psyching up and clotheslines Barrett. Then hits a power slam, and Orton sets up the rope DDT, but Barrett dumps him over the ropes. New music interrupts the match. Out comes Darren Young to the stage and gets Barrett's attention, and he says Barrett won't get away with kicking him out of Nexus and beating him up. Young says that he's going to show them why he wasn't the weakest link, but he is the missing link. Young distracts him long enough for Orton to get back in the ring, and he hits the RKO to win the match. Orton calls Young back in the ring, and he surprisingly is like he's going to shake his hand for the distraction. Surprise RKO. Then hits Orton. He hits both Edge and Sheamus as they try to come in and try to attack him. After we see some post-match highlights, Cena and Orton have a stare down in the ring as Raw goes off the air. Winner, Randy Orton. Okay, after that, the camera stopped rolling. The scheduled dark match main event was a fatal four-way: Wade Barrett versus Edge versus Sheamus versus Cena. And Sheamus for the title, retains the title by, I believe, it was pinning, I've forgotten, Wade Barrett, I believe. And that's basically it for your WWE news. There was something I didn't state on the TNA report a while ago. Kurt Angle was injured at the pay-per-view last night, but he says he is not taking that particular injury too serious. It's a separated rib, so he's going to continue to wrestle with the injury. And that concludes my report.